Yeah, we're live. Today I'm going to be interviewing a handsome fellow who apparently saw lots of benefits from eating a carnivore diet. For example, he told me that he used to have some interesting skin issues on his thigh, and going carnivore helped him improve that. And he also told me he grew more facial bones, became more masculine, stuff like that. Yeah, so if you are interested in the benefit he saw at all, make sure to stay tuned. Your boy is going to be a neutral, unbiased guy that's just going to try to know more about his stories, his advice to his past self, and his perspectives on some different kinds of topics. So, Pascal, welcome to my interview. Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, real quick, how old are you?
I'm 22 years old. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I want to say that I kind of made a little mistake before this interview. It's kind of slightly funny. So
Yeah.
previously, I thought you had two accounts. One is like in French, and one is in English. And then later, I found out that the French account was actually not you. Like you
Yeah.
guys just had like similar profile picture. Yeah, in the beginning I was like, wow, this guy, he is like running two accounts, targeting two like markets, and I thought it's cool. Yeah, do,
Yeah. No, I'm
do you
not
know
on
who
that
I'm
one.
talking about at all?
I think I have a guess, but I'm not totally sure. All of us for some reason look so similar. Like we're all like white guys with like long hair. Like we're generally like under like 20 years old or like in that range. Like I don't know why that is, but it seems to be the case.
Okay, yeah, I guess the angle of you guys' profile pics are similar. Like you guys have pretty well developed jaws and long hair and same angle. Yeah, but it's fine. Because I told you to tell me about your journey and your goals before I was like trying to invite you, and I think you are a pretty nice guy. So I'm glad I reached out to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
let's go. Can you just kind of clarify what does your diet look like right now? Do you eat any plants?
Yeah, so I currently am not eating any plant matter like whatsoever. I'm just eating animal products, primarily just beef. I don't drink any raw milk currently. I don't eat any berries currently. Right now it's winter, so it just kind of feels a little bit unnatural to be eating like berries or fruits, when none of them are growing outside. I do consume some fruits in the summer, but yeah, there's just no fruits out there right now, so I'm not consuming any. Like I like sort of picking fruits and berries off trees and stuff because then I know for sure there are zero pesticides, and it's a very like clean source. It also tastes a lot better because it's much fresher. It's not ripened in the store.
Okay, interesting. Sounds like you are pretty locked in. Hmm.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
a
I'm
quick
pretty
question:
locked in.
Do you find it hard to eat this kind of zero carb diet at all? Do you have sugar cravings?
No, I find it a lot easier. I feel like if you add a little bit of carbohydrate in, your brain sort of thinks maybe potentially it's summer, and it just sort of is always like, when's the next carbohydrate, hit coming in? I want more sugar, sugar. But if you just cut out all the sugar for like a couple weeks or even a week, like all the cravings can completely disappear sometimes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I have heard this kind of experience many times. Like it's kind of, if you are not consuming sugar, you are not triggering your addiction. So it's easier to not eat sugar, if that makes sense.
Sorry, internet issues. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, right now.
Okay, shoot. Uh, what was your question? Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I was just like saying that I think your experience lines up to a lot of other people's experience. Like they notice that when they just don't eat sugar altogether, they don't have that much sugar craving. But when they start eating sugar, the addiction starts to like come back.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like people often say that that's because fructose blocks leptin. So it basically like makes you hungrier, prevents you from being full. It's like a bit of a survival mechanism. So when you're in summer, you can put on more fat, you can put on more weight, you know.
Oh, that's interesting. Nice. Let me
Yeah.
know if you ever are unable to hear me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 of course.
Okay, great. So, what kind of diet would you say you were eating prior you went on this all meat carnivore diet?
Um, yeah, so I was eating kind of like a standard American-ish diet. It was better than a standard American diet. I was eating more whole foods, and my dad, he knew from the beginning that fat wasn't bad for you, so we got plenty of fat. In fact, I was eating enormous amounts of butter, but it was on like a bunch of crap, like bagels. I ate tons of bagels, tons of very little protein, like for certain periods of time. So this sort of rendered me pretty malnourished and with a lot of skin conditions, yeah, and other problems.
Mm, okay, that's pretty interesting. So, are you saying that when you were growing up, you always didn't think eating animal fat was an issue?
Yeah, yeah, I always knew that like it was a scam. I would get into arguments with people at
What?
school, about whether or not fat's bad for you. I was like, no, fat's not bad for you. I had no idea about the seed oil thing. I thought all oils were fine.
Oh,
So
okay.
So yeah, I just thought all fat was okay. Humans have been eating fat for ever, so it must be fine. That was basically my mindset.
Wow, wow, that's pretty um, different in my opinion. Okay. Yeah, I can talk about my personal experience. I think when I was like pretty little, one day I was at a family dining session and I was like about to eat a piece of fatty pork. I was like feeling pretty excited. And then when I was about to put that into my mouth, my grandma was like trying to stop me. She told me that, oh, you don't want to eat too much fat. Yeah. And I felt very like, I felt very disappointed. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is so delicious. How can this be bad for me? Yeah.
Yeah, no, my dad, he would create these like giant like pork roasts, and he would let us like cut off these slices that were like 30% fat and just eat it.
Wow. Wow. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get into the health issues you were struggling with prior to you going carnivore. So can you just kind of talk about your health state in the past?
Yeah, so I was suffering from a lot of skin conditions. The most scary was sort of these boils on my leg. That was actually what kind of motivated me to go strict because I was like, I just cannot have these. And then also I had balding combined with red dots on the back of my legs and the front of my legs too. Yeah, it's like this condition called keratosis pilaris, which is very common, but I had a very like severe form. Um, and then I had low testosterone. Um, it was like 280 nanograms per deciliter, which was pretty unacceptable, and that was causing all kinds of mental issues, like made me anxious, made me low energy, low motivation, afraid to take risks, all those things. I also had dry eye, like chronic dry eye, where I had to uh, I had to kind of like wipe my eyelids with a Q-tip to sort of moisturize them in the morning. I had to do that every single day for like 2 years. Sort of started,
Mm.
I think, about 4 years ago. Yeah. What else? I had a whole bunch of little things. Like none of it was sort of like it's not like I had cancer, but like they were definitely like making my life pretty miserable. Um, Also, I was very hungry, constantly hungry, hungry all the time. Uh, I was always thinking about food. When's my next meal? It was kind of like I was in this perpetual sort of treadmill where I'm just looking forward to my next meal. So yeah, that's another one. Yeah, okay. I'm blanking a little bit, but I feel like I had others, but that's probably a decent start.
Yeah, that's pretty uh like a lot of information. That's really interesting. Let me see what I want to get into first. Yeah, so you mentioned you had like hunger issues. So I guess although you weren't afraid of eating oh yeah, although you weren't afraid of eating animal fat, a lot of your diet is just like not satiating foods, right?
Yeah. Even though I wasn't afraid of animal fat, that doesn't mean I was eating a ton of it. I was still kind of eating a lower fat, like, yeah, diet, like compared to what it should be. And it was more like just wasn't afraid of animal fat specifically. Like I was, so most of my fat was coming from animal sources, which I'm sure was very beneficial, but it just wasn't enough to satiate me.
Let me ask you this question: you didn't feel the urge to eat more meat because
I
you
did.
didn't
I
have a
always wanted more
restriction,
meat.
right?
I always wanted more meat.
Okay, but why
It
didn't
doesn't
you eat more
the
meat
amount
back
of
then?
meat I ate. It was more like it was sort of this mindset where it's like, well, you need something else. You know, you can't just eat meat. That was kind of like my mindset. Like, but are you talking about before I started eating a ton of meat for to get the protein in, like just in my
uh,
upbringing, or like later once I started eating more animal products?
yeah, because you mentioned you had like hunger. I don't know. I just feel like take myself for example. If when I was young, people didn't
Yeah,
tell me eating a lot of meat is an issue. Maybe I'll want to just naturally eat more meat in my diet. I don't know. Yeah, but I think I can run into your issue as well. Like I'm going to feel like I need to eat some other foods,
yeah.
if that makes
No, I
sense.
always loved meat. It was just I also loved like junk food. I also like other crap. So, and I also thought I needed vegetables. So, yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
And
that's
also like
understandable.
in my upbringing too, like my parents, like they were paying for everything, and I wasn't really like working too hard to change what they buy. So I was sort of just eating what they gave me.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
like now I pay for all my own food, so it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
And all my parents, like my whole family's carnivore, so like it's very simple
Wow.
now. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's sick.
Like
We
if
can
you
get into
saw our
that later.
fridge, like it's just meat, or empty.
Uh,
Often our fridge is completely empty and it's just our freezer that has food.
wow. Holy shit. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you had this thing called boil. Do people usually are like aware of this term?
Oh,
Uh,
boils. It's like a term for like a large pimple.
yeah, I mean like for people in your area when they hear the word boil,
Oh,
can they associate that with a skin issue?
yeah. If I
Just
told them I had
curious.
boils, like they would know what I'm talking about.
Ah, okay, great, great. So how frustrating or painful was that?
Yeah, it was extremely frustrating because at the time I kind of thought that I was doing way better than the average person in terms of my eating habits. Like I was eating way healthier than everybody. Yet somehow I was still having problems that, almost nobody else had, at least as far as I knew. So, yeah, I was extremely frustrated. And I'm a very motivated person. So I'm kind of willing to do whatever it takes to fix a problem if it's really, really irritating me.
So sounds like its main problem was that you didn't like being the kind of person with skin issues. Like that kind of affected your identity. Did it hurt you a lot? Like actual physical pain?
Yeah, I think it was like I was extremely healthy kind of growing up. I never had any problems, never went to the doctor for the most part, and like never really got too fat or anything. So I sort of was like, this is wrong. Like I just can't stand not to be in like good health. They were painful too, but I think you're right. It was the more just the identity issue kind of thing going on there.
Nice, nice. That's really interesting. I feel like everyone has their own personality, so they look at a problem in their own way. So sometimes when I am interviewing people, the way they view things can kind of fascinates me. Yeah. Okay. Let me see.
Yeah.
Did you say you were like balding?
No, I was balding on the back of my legs. So like not a spot that really matters too much, but it was coupled with these red dots at every sort of hair follicle site.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like as a
Did I
white man,
hurt?
we have a lot of leg hair. So like, but I had like almost none on the back of my legs because of the
Mm-hmm.
condition.
Yeah. Was it painful?
No, no, purely visual.
Okay. Okay. And
Except
did that make you
I was
feel on?
I was modeling back then, so it was sort of like it interfered with my ability. Like it kind of like gave me anxiety. I'm like, what if I book a job, where they're gonna have to take a picture, from the back of my legs or something. So that was like a big motivator actually for that one.
Oh. Okay. Hmm. That's understandable. And how annoying was your dry eye?
That one was extremely annoying, especially like when traveling. Um, Day to day, it kind of became like I kind of got used to it. Like I just had to wipe my eyes down in the morning, and then that sort of solved it for the day. When I was traveling, it was like I need to bring these Q-tips around, to sort of like clean off this like I don't even know what it was. There's like this tiny little film that would build up. Like I'm now
Mhm.
like pretty suspect that that was oxalate because like I was consuming spinach, because like that's so healthy.
Oh. So if you didn't try to use a Q-tip to like fix your eyes, what would have happened?
It would have gotten very like dry, irritated. Like I wouldn't be able to look at a screen, for example. I still had a
Ah.
very hard time looking at screens, even if like it was cleaned, but would have just been way worse.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been like an
Okay.
itch. Would have just like preoccupied your mind.
Mm. Well, so can you talk about some things you tried that didn't really work for you? For example, the
Yeah. So
Q-tip.
obviously spinach that didn't work.
Okay, let me stop you real quick. Like, what do you mean by like? Did you come across some information telling you that eating spinach can help with your skin issues or something?
No, not exactly. I just kind of like, I just sort of knew that I thought I knew, that spinach was super nutrient dense. So I thought that sort of eating that spinach could give my body the best chance to sort of heal itself, if it had the most nutrition, available to it.
Okay, that's like
Yeah. And then I
I can
also
understand
tried
that
like
now.
creams. I tried creams to clear a lot of the skin conditions. I went on Accutane for acne and then it came back and that also caused other problems. Like it was, um, I sort of had it back in sort of I had it in the back of my mind that diet could probably be the solution, but I wanted to sort of go down the drug and cream based path first, which was definitely not a good idea.
Hmm. So let's just talk about the creams and stuff. Did they just not work for you at all, or it was like kind of helping?
Yeah, the creams just did not work at all. Like they were a complete waste of time.
Was that expensive?
Um, yeah, like it wasn't like extremely expensive, but it definitely was definitely a drag like on my finances, just having to buy this all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have any other like past health struggles or the things you tried that didn't really help you that you want to talk about? Because I'll get into your carnivore arc now.
Yeah, I also yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't as lean as I wanted, That was like one other problem. Uh yeah, and I was hungry at the same time, so it wasn't like I really wanted to eat less, to get leaner. I started kind
Okay.
of gaining weight maybe
And
like a
in
few months.
terms of your dry,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, keep going.
okay, yeah. In terms of your dry eye, did you just feel like you are going to have this problem forever?
Yeah, the doctor super unhelpful. They were like, "Yeah, this is probably just a lifetime problem that's going to get worse." They diagnosed me with like meibomian gland dysfunction, which is like this progressive disease for old people that's supposed to just sort of get worse and worse and worse, you know? Yeah.
How did that affect your outlook on life?
Um yeah, it just kind of made me more depressed, I guess. It's just sort of like, "Oh wow, I just now I have to deal with this, just another burden on my back."
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like when doctor announced that you have certain problems, that itself can already make you feel more depressed. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was already waking
maybe.
up. I was already waking up a little bit to how doctors don't really know everything at that point. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just have to find a solution to it myself now. Like I just never really give up.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I was
But I
depressed.
feel
I
like
kind of fully believed it. Sorry.
for some people, they don't have this kind of awareness. They just think what doctor said is like completely right. So they just feel like, oh, this is my life right now.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but like during COVID, when all that craziness was going on, seeing doctors say all that crazy stuff, that sort of made me lose a lot of confidence in the medical system. It's sort of like if they're doing that wrong, what else could they be doing wrong?
Okay, that's interesting. Can you elaborate on that a little more? Like, what are some, let's say, events that made you feel like I'm questioning like doctors?
Yeah, well, they were pushing the vaccine on young people, pregnant people, when this thing was not very tested, and they're like, "Oh, it's completely safe," even though they didn't even have enough time to make that statement. And then these people were at almost no risk, often of death from the virus, yet they're still telling you, you need to take this, this is essential, you're in grave risk of death if you don't take this, even though the data said that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there were other
So
things too.
did you take any at all back then?
No, I didn't take any vaccines during COVID.
Hmm. Okay. Were you already kind of skeptical prior to that? Because
Yeah,
for me personally, I
I
think
was
I just took
always
a bunch back then.
I wasn't full blown skeptical of vaccines at that point, but I was always skeptical of the government, from the beginning.
Oh.
Like all the way back basically to like when I was born. Because like my dad, he also, doesn't trust the government. My parents overall, they just never taught me that idea that you should always trust the government, whatever they say, it's the truth.
Yeah, that's some pretty important, I guess, education. And it actually makes sense. You shouldn't just blindly trust what other people say. So it's like pretty healthy to have that kind of mindset. But I feel like at least in my country, this kind of education or advice is not very prevalent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, of course. Yeah. And it's just grounded in like a knowledge of history, right? Because governments, throughout history have done all sorts of crazy, evil, things. They've covered up things, they've lied. So the idea that you just trust that unconditionally makes zero sense.
I feel like so this is like off topic, but I feel like maybe you are going to hear what I say late, if you know what I mean. So
Okay.
I don't know what we can do about that. Maybe I'll try to wait longer before you like after you finish talking. I'll try to wait longer. before I want to speak, so that we don't like speak onto each other, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Speaking across the ocean.
All right, that's really interesting. Uh, yeah, so I want to just get into kind of related stuff. So you mentioned that you felt kind of more depressed because you were labeled that, oh, you are going to have dry eye forever. So for me personally, I guess like 4 years ago, I was having some back pain. So I went to my doctor, and then he just looked very concerned. And he said that, oh, you have pretty severe scoliosis. He just looked kind of worried. And after that doctor visit, I started to feel like something was wrong about myself. I started to feel much less confident. Although I didn't get new issues from visiting that doctor. Like prior to going to that doctor and after going to that doctor, I'm the same person. But the way I look at myself became like much different. I became much less confident, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
feel like,
No,
oh,
I get what you're saying.
like my spine is crooked. Uh, I have a problem. But I always have this issue. It's not like going to that doctor made my spine crooked.
Yeah, no, no, I get it. Yeah. You just you lose that pride of sort of being someone who's like, healthy, you know, uh, makes you feel a little bit more disabled. You know what I'm saying? When people tell you that you have a problem.
Hmm. So yeah, it's definitely important to take what doctors say with a grain of salt.
Yeah, massive grain of salt. Like doctors are like the problem, like so much of the time now. And like they've been the problem throughout history in a lot of cases as well. So like this isn't something new. Like people just aren't aware of it.
Mm-hmm. So, really quickly, because right now we are talking and we are both pretty like healthily skeptical about doctors. Let me say this: how many people do you think have this kind of mindset? Like, let's
Um
say, in 100 people.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe like probably like 10, 5, something like that where I am.
Oh, okay, that's not too horrible, I
Yeah.
guess. Well, so let me. Yeah, how did you come across a carnivore diet?
Um, I actually like the condition on my leg, the boils, it's a pretty rare condition, right? So I actually found, I couldn't find a lot of information on it, but I found this one testimonial on YouTube where someone said they got rid of it using the carnivore diet. It had like 800 views. It was like a very low quality camera. But it was like the only person anywhere on the entire internet who said that you could solve it. It actually said on Healthline that it was genetic. There's nothing you could do to fix it. It's like literally in your genes to have this disease. Um, but I just never bought that because I can't. It just didn't make sense to me that a significant amount of people would be diseased sort of merely based on their genes. I thought that was very unlikely. So yeah, I saw that, and at that point, I was pretty convinced that I wouldn't die because so many people are doing it. So I was like, might as well try it. You know, that was sort of that was
Mm-hmm.
sort of how I actually got started. But I had heard about it for years before that from like Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson. Yeah,
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Interesting that the fact that you saw many people were doing it already was like enough for you to feel like, oh, you can try this diet. Because I feel like some people, they need more reassuring.
well, like I'm not gonna die in like 2 months. Like I figured, like if I feel bad, I can just quit. It's not like I'm gonna die overnight, like from some deficiency. If all these people are doing it.
Nice. Okay. There are some stuff I will get into. So prior to you coming across that boil video, uh, What was your perception on carnivore?
Um, my perception was sort of like it was extreme, right? Like people shouldn't have to do this to be healthy, you know. Uh, I had a sort of distorted idea of what sort of an ancestral diet was back then. I didn't know what an ancestral diet was. I thought it included all sorts of foods, you know, that are not actually really very natural after all. So yeah, I just sort of thought it was very extreme, restrictive, but I sort of understood sort of why it would work, like on a certain surface level. I was like, something's wrong in the food system, and this thing eliminates an enormous amount of variables. So, you know, if something in the food system's causing this problem, chances are, you know, eating only meat is going to eliminate that factor.
Were there other things that help convince you in terms of you can try carnivore? Because yeah, like you said, when you were growing up, you think eating a lot of meat is fine. What about like the fact that you are not eating vegetables on a carnivore diet? Did you need some information to convince you?
Um, yeah, I what exactly was it? That I guess the first thought I had was that the Inuit didn't eat any vegetables, you know, or the Maasai didn't eat any vegetables, you know, in certain cases, or the Samburu. Like, so if they're not eating vegetables, you know, chances are I can go a few months without vegetables. Also, before farming, we had no real way of storing, you know, vegetables, you know, over the winter. You know, my ancestors came from an area that's quite far north. So it would make a lot of sense that those people would not have access to vegetables, you know, in the winter, you know, because nothing's growing. So that sort of is what took the fear away from me. I actually
Okay.
had this minor surgery too, about 3 weeks into the diet, and they put stitches in it, sort of sew it up, and my healing was so rapid, even after only 3 weeks on the diet, that the stitches totally fused, and they're like, "We've never seen someone heal this fast, this aggressively," and they had to like pick each of these like stitches out like really painfully because it healed too fast too quickly. And one of the main
Wow.
symptoms of vitamin C deficiency is weak collagen. Sometimes old wounds actually open back up. And I saw the exact opposite. Some of the most rapid healing, you know, best collagenous deposition, you know, that anyone had ever seen, you know, at that clinic. So yeah, that actually was a pretty big shift. I was like, well, that's crap, you know. I'm good.
Oh, that's really interesting. So, yeah, basically, you are saying that a lot of people are under the idea that without vegetables, wound healing will be worse. But for you personally, going on a carnivore diet actually accelerate your wound healing.
Yeah. Wait, sorry. Oh yeah. Well, and also there are these websites on the internet where you can punch in a diet and it will tell you all the nutrients. So on a carnivore diet, I was getting some amount of basically all of the nutrients, you know. The only one that it listed as zero was vitamin C. So that was the only one that I was technically at risk, you know, of having like an immediate side effect from.
Mhm. How did you feel about vegetables when you were growing up?
Yeah, I never liked certain ones, especially. I never hated like all vegetables, you know. Like I didn't have a problem with onions. Uh, Sometimes my parents cooked broccoli in a way that it was semi appetizable, you know, but it was obviously soaked in butter, you know. So it's not really fair, you know. They're just sneaking the animal fat in, you know, in the vegetable. But I never liked vegetables, you know, in general. I always would rather have not eaten them, you know.
And I know you would still eat them, and I want to know what was the like information or education that made you want to eat vegetables.
Yeah, it was just programming, you know, just like societal, um, I don't know what you call it. Yeah, it was sort of the traditional wisdom, you know.
So I guess nothing really like specific made you want to eat vegetables, but that's just what
Yeah,
everyone eats. So
yeah, it's just nutrients. Like there's this idea that's so nutritious, even though, later I found out that it's not actually bioavailable, because we're not optimized to digest nutrients from plants.
okay, so you went carnivore. Was it hard for you in the beginning? Like you
Yeah, I
did you
had
know
like
what you should eat, and can you use spices, use salt, eat dairy, blah blah blah.
yeah, I had really bad like carb cravings like at the beginning. Um so like my brain like played tricks on me in like the first week or something. It was like, why don't you just add in, some honey or something, you know? But I sort of like I was like, no, no, I want to push through. I want to actually, try this out. And then all that kind of disappeared after like a couple weeks. Never really came back. I didn't even know it was possible to like go like a month without eating any sugar. I just like couldn't imagine what that would be like.
So it sounds like prior to you going carnivore, you were kind of pretty big on junk food.
No, no, no. At that point, I was eating pretty clean. It was mostly like fruit that I was addicted to.
Oh,
Like I was eating like a ton of fruit. Like mango, like frozen mango. I'd have these like big bags of frozen mango, and I was eating a ton of that. And that was partially like why my teeth were like so yellow and so soft at that point. All the acid, all the sugar, in those fruits, eating it 3 times a day.
mm. So kind of random question. What are your thoughts on frutarians?
Yeah, I just feel like it's like the epitome of malnutrition. The thing is, fruitarians, they do have the one upside of removing ultra processed foods. So like I have heard cases of people healing diseases on a fruitarian diet, and that makes sense to me because you're removing a lot of really noxious, compounds. Like fruit is technically part of a natural human diet. Like humans have been eating fruit for like ever you know, we never ate like an only fruit diet, but we did eat fruits. Your body does, deem this natural, does know how to deal with it. So, especially for like short term, like I understand why it would make people feel better, but in the long term, like it's gonna like be seriously damaging to the body. And also like
Interesting.
you have no protein. So that's gonna just like cause you to slowly just like disintegrate. There's actually a frutarian like influencer who died like recently, I believe. I forget what her name was, but yeah, no, like that's what happens.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think I have come across that news before. Have you seen other fruitarian content creators? Because I think there are a couple that seem to be fine on this diet.
Yeah, no, you last a while, right? Because you're not eating any processed food, so you're not gonna have any overt like toxicity. But you're eventually gonna run out of protein, and you're just gonna die, and that's what we've seen. Like a lot of these people, like if they truly claim to be 100% fruitarian, with no supplements for like 10 years, I do not believe them. That's just not
Mm,
physiologically possible.
interesting, interesting. Do you mind if I clip this part out? Just curious.
You can cut anything you want out if you want.
Nice, interesting, interesting.
No, like you don't need to
Okay,
keep anything here. Like it doesn't matter.
okay, yeah. Maybe you can just be aware of that, like when you want to share your opinions.
Yeah.
Because I guess what you say can be controversial. Because I know some fruitarians they believe in their diet a lot. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to. I would have thought the fruitarians would already not like you, so like it wouldn't be a big deal. But yeah, no, no.
oh, you're right.
Like I don't think you're like a friend of like raw vegans, as it is, because like raw vegan, like fruitarian, those are kind of like connected because like the only raw plant food that tastes really good is fruit. Like nobody wants to eat like raw broccoli, raw spinach
Hmm.
all day.
I feel like frutarians can actually share a lot of like similarities with, let's say, carnivores, because I have seen them talking about how we are kind of lied to growing up, and this is our natural diet. Like they think the natural diet is fruit.
Especially raw carnivores like Agenus Vonderplanets and stuff. Like I see a lot of commonalities with him and yeah, raw vegans. Like he even includes like green juice cleanses, I believe, in his protocol, which I thought was pretty funny.
Hmm. Okay. Let me see. Do you think there are some resources that really benefited you as a beginner carnivore? Like it helped you know more about
Yeah,
what to do.
yeah. Paul Mason, that guy's lectures were absolute gold. Like when I first started carnivore, I found them and I was like obsessed. Like I like watched every single lecture like multiple times because of how much information it sort of gave me. It felt like I was unlocking like this brand new, set of secrets to the universe.
Nice. That's a nice way to put it. Yeah, I can kind of relate to this. How many years ago was that when you were like
It was
binging on his
like
content?
um it was right when I turned 21, I believe. Yeah, it's like it was like right before my birthday, I remember. So
So,
I think it's like, yeah, well over like it's like over a year and a half, somewhere in between a year and a
mhm.
half and 2 years.
Nice, nice. Would you say he's like underrated in the carnivore community?
Yeah, no, I would say that he's not he's not talked about a lot because he's not like out there rage baiting people. He's not out putting short form content, on Instagram. He just mainly does interviews on YouTube, lectures. He's not trying to like really grab attention, but I really think the value that he delivers is pretty spectacular.
Nice. Well, yeah, I think he seems to be a pretty, how do you say this? He seems to be a gentleman.
Yeah, no, like yeah, he's not getting in the social media mud, like all of us.
Hmm. Okay, let me see. So let's move on to the benefits you saw from eating a carnivore diet. Um, yeah, maybe you can just list them out. Like what are the benefits you saw from going on a carnivore diet?
Yeah, so within just like a few days, my dry eye completely disappeared. That was like the first benefit, and that kind of like really shocked me. Um, I immediately started feeling extremely full, like the fullest I'd ever felt in my life, to the point that it felt weird. Like I had never gone to 2 meals a day, but I pretty quickly went to 2 meals a day. Um, what else? Yeah, my skin flared initially, but I sort of knew that a lot of these conditions work like that, so I wasn't actually too concerned. I was sort of like, okay, this at least shows it's having an impact. And my original thought was like the worst thing that happens is that it has no impact at all, because then I'm like back to the drawing board on how do I fix it. But if it's impacting it, it means I'm working on something that matters. Yeah. So yeah, it did end up taking a very long time for my skin conditions to actually clear up. I think a lot of people expect like skin conditions to clear up overnight, 30 days, that's what a lot of the marketing says, but for most people that's just not the case. It takes time. Eczema might be the one exception. I've seen that disappear overnight in a lot of cases, but not acne, not the thing that happened on my leg.
Yeah, can you kind of compare uh, how your skin was in the past and how your skin is now?
Yeah, well, like my skin now is like it's like basically perfect. Like I still will get a pimple here and there every once in a while, but all the hair grew back on my leg. All of that's gone. Um, yeah, I barely ever Do you get like acne? Yeah, it's much stronger. It used to tear while I'd walk through the woods. Like I'd get all these little cuts, if I walked around barefoot and things like that. But now, no, it's like bulletproof. Like it feels like my skin is much, much stronger.
Hmm.
I also
Nice.
had like black dots on my nose, and those fell out, which was nice. I think they call those like blackheads or something. Yeah,
Let me see.
better tone too. I was extremely pale before, and now I sort of stay tan year round to a degree. Like I'm still paler than I am in the summer, but before I'd go like white in the winter. But now I like stay tan to a degree.
Did you have any? So basically, sounds like your expectation prior to going on a carnivore diet was that you didn't have a lot of expectations.
No, no, I was just like, might as well try it out. Hope for the best. I didn't have any real other options. Nowhere else on the internet had anyone said that they'd fixed it.
Interesting. Do you still remember that guy that inspired you?
Um, Wait, what do you mean? Which guy?
Well,
Me or like another guy?
so I think you saw a video with 800 views.
Oh, oh, what about her again?
I mean, like, I just, I just, I'm curious if you still remember that guy, and you can shout her out.
Oh yeah, no, it was the Carnivore Queen on YouTube. Uh, yeah, it's funny actually. I tried to follow her on Instagram, but she never followed me back. That was pretty sad. It's funny. She had no idea, what she did for me.
Oh, okay, okay. So basically, she's kind of like the main reason you went carnivore.
Yeah. Hey, no, sorry. Someone's knocking on my door. Uh, I'm busy. Do you want? I have two pork rinds that I need for you. Okay, thank you, but I'm busy. Thank you. Want me to stick them under the door? Sure. Yeah. Sorry about that interruption.
It's no worries. I learned a new expression. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
busy.
my mom just gave me some pork rinds
Oh,
that she cooked.
nice.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, W. Yeah, but would you say that girl was the main reason you went carnivore?
Um, no, I actually had sort of been considering it for like a year beforehand, but I thought that maybe, yeah, maybe just the creams, maybe taking Accutane, could fix it. I just thought it was especially sort of this idea that like I couldn't eat, what other people were eating, at a restaurant, or at a birthday party. That kind of held me back. I was sort of like, that's like the nuclear option. I'll do that when I have no other options, and that's pretty much what happened. Yeah,
Okay, 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 nice.
because I'd seen like Reddit posts on how they'd fixed their acne with carnivore beforehand too, and I was like, you know, I might have to try this at some point if nothing else works.
Interesting. Did you see any dental health improvements from going on a carnivore diet?
Yeah, massive, massive. Totally revolutionized my teeth. Like my teeth were yellow, soft. Like when rubbing my teeth against each other, it almost felt like it was soft. It was disturbing, and yeah, it's kind of sad. I had like little cavities, at that point too that had to get filled. Now, I know I could have prevented them, but yeah, my teeth became white. They became glass, in terms of how hard they felt. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I
Uh,
stopped using toothpaste at that point, just brushing with water, and I never get bad breath. I actually one time didn't brush my teeth for a week. Sounds kind of gross, but I like I got like a few people to verify zero bad breath, like zero bad breath after not brushing my teeth for a week. Like that's how you know you're doing something right. You know what I'm saying? Like what other diet will do that?
nice, nice, interesting. I feel like maybe I have similar experiences. Like maybe my girlfriend thinks my breath is supposed to stink, but it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't. And like it kind of makes me a little bit more repelled by like normal people's breath, you know.
Ooh.
I'm like more aware of it.
Mm, interesting, interesting. Yeah, maybe. I guess for me as well. Right now, when I see people that has like bad skin, I can notice that better. Because in the past, everyone around me, when I was like in high school, they had bad skin. They were wearing braces. Like clearly they had some problems, but I didn't care a lot about that. But right now, when I see people with like let's say skin issues, like it's very noticeable to me.
Yeah. No, I try and hold off judgment, but like often when I'm just walking around in public, I'm just like, these people would be so incredibly benefited, by eating properly. And I almost feel like they're being like poisoned, deformed, by the food that they're being given. Like when I see kids with like braces, and their jaws are super receded, I just feel bad. I'm like, they could still turn this around potentially at this point, but it's probably not going to happen.
Oh, well, that's I can relate to this. Yeah. Yeah, it really depends on if they're like let's say their parents, if their perspectives change. Otherwise, like you said, it's not probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask a little um, maybe embarrassing question. So
Okay.
I want to know. Let me see how can I ask this question. Um, did a carnivore diet do anything to your sex drive?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, made it like it made it go honestly just to a ridiculous level. Um, I'm not sexually active though. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm not gonna have sex until I'm married. But it just made it so much harder, I guess, to yeah, persevere. I guess a lot more intrusive thoughts. Yeah, but it kind of feels good though. It's kind of tied to your drive in life in general. Like when your sex drive's low, you probably don't want to do much. You don't want to make money, help people. Go out and make something of yourself. So I think it's a good sign.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Um, so you mentioned that. Let me see how I can ask this. You mentioned that you are not trying to have sex before you get married. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah,
talk more about why you have this decision?
yeah. Well, I think that once you have sex with somebody, you tend to bond with that person, for life, and it's very damaging, to have to break that off and then go find another person. We're much better off just finding one person that we really like and sticking with them for life. I think that's sort of what's the most conducive to happiness, and a high quality long term relationship. Yeah.
I like this message. Hmm.
Yeah, no,
Mm,
people who try and look better and they're looks maxing and stuff just so they can sleep around. It's so ridiculous because you woke up on this level, you learned about all this stuff so that you can learn the secrets to be more attractive, just so that you can fall into another trap, that's going to make you unhappy, you know, on the other side. I feel like that's quite funny.
hmm. How did you start to have this kind of perspective?
Um, I don't know. I've just been on the internet for a while, talked to a lot of people. Yeah, I'm pretty I'm kind of I'm always trying to think about things critically, not just accept what society tells me.
Beautiful. Okay, let me ask you like kind of a touchy question, I guess. So
Yeah.
I guess you are going to value if your like partner has a past, right? So how are you going to be able to figure that out?
Um. Yeah, if they have a past that I don't really like, um, yeah, I don't know exactly like how I deal with that. Like obviously like I'd prefer that not to be the case, but like I haven't if I actually had a person in front of me like that I wanted, for example, like it's hard to say exactly like what I would decide. Like obviously there's nothing wrong, with marrying someone who has a past, You just have to like yeah, you just have to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, yeah, I know more about your perspectives now. Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad that I guess at least from what I can see, a good amount of guys are starting to have your kind of perspective.
Yeah, no, like we see what society has, become, and we can see that it's not working. So we're like looking for alternatives. It's like we already tried that, we tried doing it that way and it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if every guy has this kind of standard, um, how do you say this? I just think our society can treat this activity more like seriously. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no, of course.
maybe people are just think it's like a kind of pleasure activity, but it's more like um how do you say it, holy than that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like it's an extremely like important, like big, long-lasting decision. Like before we had like protection, you would literally create a human, you know, who's gonna, outlive you, always be in your life, always be on this planet. The woman might be, stuck being pregnant for 9 months. Like it was a big deal. We only kind of forgot that it was a big deal once we created, all of these technologies so that we could prevent people from getting pregnant.
Mm.
But it still has a very
I
like strong psychological effect. It's very powerful.
mhm. I feel like mainstream really like emphasize that you want to wear protection. Let me see if I can think of an example. I guess last time I came across a post, and maybe it's a nurse or something who made the post, and she was like kind of emphasizing, oh, you really want to wear protection if you don't want. Like I guess she was saying that she noticed a lot of like young couples that are like having children, and they want to like abort the babies, and
Yeah.
she's just trying to like emphasize that you want to wear protection. And to me, I just find it like not very. I didn't like that kind of message, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of sad, because nobody wants babies anymore. So, we're like, but we want to have sex. So it kind of just creates this whole big mess. Um, like if people realize that, babies actually make a lot of people pretty happy, that would solve a lot of problems. But like again,
Mm,
it also like everything's so ridiculously expensive now that a lot of people just like find that idea very stressful, and impractical. So yeah, it's just very difficult. That's why like yeah, I think people just need to create kind of like a plan, on how they're going to do that. Cause like, yeah,
great. That's a nice point. It just has a lot to do with like how what the mainstream teaches you. I guess they
yeah,
make you think a certain way.
yeah. Like they're not they're what they tell you is not in your interest. It's in their interest. You know,
Mm-hmm. Did you see any mental health improvements from going carnivore?
yeah, massive. That was like one of the biggest benefits. Like my stress levels completely dropped through the floor when I did this, and I think that was like in large part because my testosterone levels went up so much. But I find it literally possible now to go like many weeks without actually being seriously stressed out at any moment, really, during that entire period. Like I just sort of have this feeling of well-being. I kind of want to live more. Like before, it was sort of like, oh, if I die, that's not a big deal. But now it's sort of like, no, I want to stay alive. I got work to do. I got stuff to do. I want to do things. because like
Mm,
desire is like a key component, of good mental health. Like if you don't want to do anything, chances are you're kind of depressed, and if you want to do a lot of things, chances are you're actually pretty mentally healthy.
nice,
And I
nice.
just didn't want to do as many things before, the carnivore diet, and also just getting
Wow,
healthier in general. Yeah.
wow, nice. Okay, let me see how I can ask this next question. So, Pascal, as someone who has been able to improve his mental health by changing his diet, do you have any advice for people that are feeling hopeless, purposeless, depressed?
Yeah. So like I would say like number one is like you want to get into ketosis. You don't want to be consuming a lot of carbohydrates because that's where a lot of the evidence appears to be. People like Chris Palmer and such have discussed that that's like a very important factor. I would also I would also suggest that you need to keep your ultra processed food consumption to an absolute minimum. Like you want to cheat like almost never, if you do this. And yeah, also focusing just on nutrient density, not restricting calories, just trying to really nourish your body so you can bring down stress because stress really exacerbates virtually every mental illness.
Do you have some other advice that's outside of diet?
Yeah, so lowering stress, that's critical. So like if you have like relationship problems or you don't like your parents don't like you, your job is extremely stressful, you have too much on your plate, um whatever the cause of stress is in your life, like you need to really try to reduce that problem.
Awesome.
And I would also add
Nice.
sun. Like the sun really boosts mood. There's a reason why people use like seasonal depression lamps that are literally designed to replicate the sun. Like zero sun is extremely depressing to people. So like really high quality food, low stress, and then sunlight. Sunlight would be probably the least important, but it's free. It's very easy to do. So why not?
Great. So you mentioned you feel like your facial bones. Let me see how I can ask this question. Yeah. You mentioned you feel like your face became more well developed after you went carnivore. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah. So it really started when I started eating a ton of meat around like 18 years old. Like 17, 18 years old, I started eating a ton of meat to get 180 grams of protein, per day. I was eating up to like pound and a half of meat at that point. So I was basically eating close to the amount of meat a carnivore would eat, plus a bunch of other stuff. And then that was when my development really seemed to take off. And then it sped up, ironically, when I went carnivore, even though I was even older and theoretically development should be even more slow at that point. So, like, my face really changed over the last, yeah, around 2 years.
Awesome.
Like,
Did you
basically,
see?
mainly, I just became a lot more angular, a lot sharper. Like, my bones just became a lot more prominent.
Nice. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a brother.
Okay, and he's also on carnivore.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to ask you if you guys' like face shape looks different if he wasn't on carnivore.
No, no. We actually look extremely similar. We're like the exact same height, exact like we look people mistake us. I actually run a business and sometimes when there's a consultation, I'll book it and then he'll show up and do the consultation because we look the same. Like they can't tell us apart, even though we're not twins.
Wow, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a little bit more
Let me
strict than
see.
him though, so I'm a little bit leaner than him.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'm also stronger than him too, even though he's heavier.
Okay. Do you think you see some? Do yeah? Do you think you saw some high growth after going carnivore?
Uh, yeah, I think I grew about like half an inch at like 21 or 20 and a half, something like that, which sounds like ridiculous, but I think it happened. It's hard to tell because your height sort of varies, um, from the morning, to the evening. But yeah, no, I think I did grow. It wasn't a lot though. But this is insane because I stopped growing at around 16 years old. So it sort of picked up like literally 5 years later.
Mm, mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm,
but again, I'm not 100% sure. Like I think it happened though.
mm, mm. Okay, let me see how I can ask this next question. How important is it to eat a good diet if someone wants to be tall, in your
Oh,
opinion?
it's yeah, it's like number one. It's like the only outside of genetics, it's number one. And like you definitely want to consume, if you really want to max it out, you're probably going to want to consume raw milk because that contains compounds, a lot of the nutrients designed for height growth. It might even make you taller than you're supposed to be. So maybe you're supposed to be 6'2". If you drink a ton of raw milk, you might end up being, 6'4", 6'5", and that might cause other problems down the road. So maybe like people say you need raw milk to be healthy. You do not need milk to be healthy. Outside of breast milk, when you're a baby. But yeah, if you really want to be as tall as possible, that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm. Do you wish you were on this kind of meat-based diet when you were, let's say, still in your mom's belly?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I kind of really wish I'd had it during high school because like I had a lot of mental problems like during high school. Like I was like really depressed, like and anxious and stuff. Like that's when I really wish I had it. Um, but overall, like I'm not sure. Like I have a pretty I'm pretty well developed, so it's not like I'm like just dying. That like I wish they'd fed me better when I was a child. Like I kind of escaped. I kind of got lucky. And I
Interesting.
think again, it
Nice,
was
nice.
because I ate so much butter, as a kid. I did eat a lot of meat, as a kid.
Yeah, that definitely didn't hurt. Um, how would have life been different if you were already on a meat-based diet in high school?
I probably it probably would have just like changed the direction of my life because um, yeah, I hated school so much. Everything stressed me out so much. So I probably would have just started, getting after it earlier. I spent a lot of time just like playing video games, and just kind of wasting time, just because I didn't really feel like, going for it.
Yeah, that's pretty valuable. I can relate to this. Yeah, I can share my personal experience a little. I feel like if I was already on a meat-based diet when I was in, let's say, college, uh, because at that time I was kind of like, I guess my life would be happier in general. I was kind of, um, yeah, I need to try to think. It's kind of vague. The memory is kind of vague. Yeah, but I guess I was like struggling a lot in terms of dating. Like maybe I had a crush on some girls, and I would just be very needy. I really want to get them, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
I just think that kind of state is very unhealthy. Like it's very sad. Yeah, but if I was already on a me-based diet back then I wouldn't care a lot about chasing these girls, and that can
yeah,
actually make me more like attractive. So I would probably have gotten those girls or something, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. I do think yeah. So like I do think I think being healthy does make you just more content, being single. But I think no matter what, you're always gonna have like a drive as a man to like attract like girls and stuff. But it's not going to be, yeah, I don't think you're going to be as needy because you're sort of like, I'm already good right now. I feel pretty darn good. I'm not looking for somebody, to just like, make me whole, because you're already, kind of whole to a degree. Like if you're just
Nice,
depressed and you want some girl to save you, like that's probably not going to happen.
nice. Wow, beautiful conversation right here. Yeah, I agree with you. I think when you eat a healthy diet, you might still seek a partner, but the feeling is healthier. It's not like, oh, you're so desperate.
Yeah, and I was like I wasn't exactly like ugly in high school. Like I was kind of like ugly to average. And like yeah, I like had basically like I had very little like female attention at that point. So yeah, like my whole like mindset sort of had to shift, once I actually started looking better. Yeah.
So we have went over your skin, your teeth, your sex drive. Uh, let's talk about your digestion. Did you notice any improvements in your digestion on carnivore?
Yes, I had diarrhea like it was sort of intermittent, but no matter what I did, I just couldn't get rid of it. And looking back, I think that was my body kind of trying to clear itself, of whatever it was trying to get rid of. It would always happen when I ate the worst foods. So like my body was just like, I'm not going to absorb this. I just want this out. So yeah, it took many months though. Like I still got diarrhea on the carnivore diet every once in a while until like I was pretty deep into it. And
Mm.
I do get a little bit better digestion eating raw dishes such as steak tartare or like blue rare steak than I do eating ground beef. And Costco ground beef in particular, I don't know if you have that in Taiwan, but it's caused me some issues. Like I think it's just extremely low quality, and like and I'm cooking it right, but it's just like it just sits in my stomach. It's like heavy, that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, okay, that's pretty detailed. Interesting. So overall, how is your digestion now? Eating your
Yeah, it's
carnivore
like
diet
flawless.
without eating vegetables.
Yeah, it's like flawless. So I never really feel anything in my stomach. All my poops come out, perfect. I don't even really need to use toilet paper, for the most part. It comes up bare. My poop has almost no scent. It doesn't smell bad. Um, yeah, no gurgling noises in my stomach. Uh, no acid reflux. Yeah, just nothing. No bloating. My stomach's always flat, even if I eat a meal.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess if someone is not familiar with a carnivore diet and they hear this, they're probably going to think you are like BSing or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like people never believe us, but it's like we just keep on growing. Like more accounts keep popping up, more people say it, and at a certain point they can't deny it anymore.
Hmm, interesting. Aside from your health, do you think a carnivore diet gave you fuck? Aside from your health, do you think a carnivore diet gave you some other benefits?
Aside from my health, yeah, so eating less meals and not snacking dramatically freed up my time to do other things. So when I wasn't thinking about food, and I was eating very quickly, you know, I was suddenly able to work way more. So now I'm able to like just be a lot more productive. And on top of that, there were no energy crashes. That's kind of tied into health, but yeah, I was just a lot more productive. Also, I go shopping less. It's much easier to sort of yeah, buy a ton of what I need and then just put it in the freezer for good. And also, I can now like support like local farmers for my food because I'm just basically buying a few things. So it's much easier to not go to grocery stores, for my food supply.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, something pop up in my mind. So, like you mentioned, when you eat this kind of meat-based diet, essentially your alertness is more stable. You're like more clear-headed, and you don't eat out as much. You spend less time eating, and when you are eating itself, it also take less time. So overall, it's like very helpful for your productivity. Yeah, but I feel like most, let's say, entrepreneurs, they don't eat a meat-based diet, but they can still be like very successful. And I just think it's pretty like fascinating. I guess
If
I
they
don't know
were
if you have thought of this.
like, did you see that clip where Joe Rogan was talking to Elon Musk, asking him about his breakfast? And he said to be productive, he switched to just bacon and eggs, I believe. Might have been something else, but it was like animal based, like no vegetables, no carbs. He said that's what he needed to, have a power up. So I think a lot of these entrepreneurs are doing this. A lot of them are just pushing through because they have just like extreme discipline, and they're grinding themselves into the ground like a lot of these people, just like they're just burning themselves out.
Interesting. Yeah, because like you probably know this account called School of Hard Knocks, right? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't exactly know what they talk about.
Okay, but basically the host is going to go around and interview rich people, and I just noticed that a lot of these highly rich business owners, they all look pretty unhealthy. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's say they are like very fat, or this area is like very saggy, like they just don't look very healthy, but they still seem
Yeah.
to be able to have a big empire, and they still seem to be just like sharp. So I just find it pretty like interesting.
I think they're lucky, right? I think they often have the genetics so that they don't get a serious disease that distracts them, from their work, from eating like garbage, like a lot of us do. And a lot of them are sick too, though. Like, yeah. Like I know quite a few rich people personally, and like a lot of them do have health problems.
Yeah, I can imagine they probably have health issues, but they are somehow still able to just be a business owner, have a lot of like responsibilities. Yeah, I just find it interesting. But I'm sure they are going to benefit from eating a better diet, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of their jobs are not that physical, right? It's just like sending emails, calling people, driving around. Like I don't think if you're unhealthy, you can be a roofer, or like a digger. That's not how it works.
Oh, nice, interesting. How do you think people usually view meat right now? Do a lot of people think it's like dangerous?
Like cooked, raw, just like in general.
I mean, let's just talk about the idea of eating lots of meat. Do
Oh yeah,
people think it's dangerous right now?
yeah. Like it's hard to tell because like I hang around. Pretty much everyone I hang around, eats a ton of meat. Like I'm not really friends with anybody, who's a vegetarian, or limiting their meat consumption, for health reasons. It tends to be like older people who think meat's bad for you, because of all the programming that they were put through. But young people, most of them don't necessarily think it's unhealthy. They just think, oh, you need balance.
That makes sense. Is it possible you talk closer to your microphone?
Uh, yeah.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me now?
Just don't want. Yeah, I could hear you. I could also hear you, but I just want to make sure you're loud enough.
Okay.
Nice. What about people's perception on vegetables? What do you think people think about vegetables right now?
Yeah, I think it's just the same old, same old. Like people just kind of think that they're needed, but don't know exactly why. Like fiber, nutrients, that's sort of what they'll tell you. Even though fiber, is indigestible, it's not a nutrient. And all the nutrients in vegetables, you can get every single one of them from meat. In a more bioavailable form. That's also often just straight up better. Like vitamin K1 versus K2. K1, has very limited uses, whereas K2, is critical, for development. And your body can interconvert K2 to K1, at any time it needs K1.
What would you want to say to people who believe without vegetables you'll become constipated and you'll get scurvy? Yeah,
Yeah, well, like,
preferably. Yeah, let me give you one more. So let me say the whole question again. I would like you to use your personal experience as a carnivore who doesn't eat vegetables to say something to people who believe without vegetables you'll become constipated or like get scurvy.
yeah, well, like, obviously, there's like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people on the carnivore diet, and none of them have scurvy. There are almost zero cases of scurvy, among anybody in the US, and they certainly are not going up now because of the carnivore diet. And then in terms of like, you need fiber, not to be constipated. Um, you know, like anybody can just, change a baby's diaper, and see, that baby that eats zero fiber, is not having any problem with going poop, despite what, we're told.
Wow, that's pretty powerful talking point, I guess.
Yeah, well, like, if you needed fiber to go poop, there would be fiber in breast milk. It's not like babies have some special digestive system that doesn't require fiber.
Wow, interesting, nice. So have you like changed diapers for babies that are on a carnivore diet? It sounds like.
Wait, sorry, you cut out a little bit.
Yeah, have you changed diapers for babies who are on a carnivore diet?
No, I haven't seen a baby in like forever. It's kind of sad.
Ah, okay, okay.
But like
Let's
anybody
see.
can see, a baby, that it poops fine. It's not constipated. You know.
I know what you're saying. Like babies, they are only on breast milk and they don't eat
Yeah,
vegetables,
exactly.
but they can still poop. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
interesting point. Nice. Have you experienced any downsides eating a carnivore diet?
Yeah, like the biggest problem, as always, is like integrating, into society. Um, and at the beginning, actually, it made me extremely sensitive to certain compounds. Like I would get diarrhea the second, I would consume certain foods. And now, after like a while, it seems like that's finally starting to wane, and I'm not so sensitive. So those are kind of the side effects that I noticed.
So if someone hears your story and they are kind of interested in giving a carnivore a shot, what kind of practical advice would you give them?
Yeah, just enjoy the food. So like cook stuff that you really like the taste of. Um, I wouldn't do it overnight, like if you've been on a high carb standard American diet, because you don't want to have any kind of side effects or issues, that scare you, make you not want to, continue. So I'd transition slowly, you know, over ideally 6 to 8 weeks. Some people can't do that, so they might go overnight, but yeah, that would be sort of the main advice I would go for.
So you mentioned that you eat raw meat. Um, According to your personal experience, do you think raw meat is healthier than cooked meat?
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure on that. Like, I'm still not 100% sure if it's quite as digestible as cooked meat. What I will say is that like it tastes pretty great. So like blue rare steak tastes way better than like a medium well steak, and steak tartare tastes like often a lot better than like say like cooked ground beef. So I kind of just eat it mainly based on taste, to be honest. And I do kind of trust my body that if it tastes better, it's probably going to be healthier. Considering it's a fully natural food that our ancestors consumed. Um, yeah, I think that it obviously doesn't have any advanced glycation end products, like cooked meat does. It doesn't have any, lipid peroxides. It's gonna have a lot more omega threes because those are not gonna be oxidized, you know, due to the fact that it's being raw. They would otherwise be oxidized if it's cooked. It has more taurine. If you boil it, that's gonna destroy a lot of the mineral and water soluble vitamin content. So yeah, no, there are some benefits. I don't think it's essential though. Uh, I think there might be a benefit to adding in a little bit of raw meat, if you're on a fully carnivore diet, that's mostly cooked. But like fully raw, or like it's just a game changer, you're gonna feel way better. Like it doesn't change the game, in my experience.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you a lot here. Interesting. I think you made some good arguments, like steak tartare being more delicious than cooked ground beef, good cooked ground meat, and blue rare steak tasting better than medium rare. I think a lot of people will agree with that. And yeah, I think how delicious it is a like telling sign. Yeah, so we should take that somewhat seriously. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Ooh. Just a quick reminder, I might disappear, like my camera may turn off sometime soon, um, because it looks like my phone is
Okay.
dying. Yeah.
Oh
So
shoot.
let me, but let me ask you this real quick. Like, are you? Do you still have time for me to like do the interview?
Wait, sorry, I missed it. You cut out.
Because basic. Oh, sorry. So basically, if my camera turns off, I can charge my phone, and it will probably take
Oh,
like 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm
yeah,
wondering
yeah,
if
no
you are
problem.
okay with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I
great,
can
great,
just
great.
come back.
Yeah,
That's
because
fine.
I say it again.
Yeah, I can come back. Yeah, it's no problem. I got lots of time.
Great, nice, awesome. Yeah, I have enjoyed this conversation. So I would love to ask you all the questions I have. Yeah, but just to like remind you, I might disappear. But if you are
Yeah, yeah,
talking, you can keep
yeah,
talking.
it's no big deal. I'll just stay here. I'll
Okay,
stay on this call.
great, nice, awesome. Appreciate it. Let's go. Let me see. When did you realize eating raw meat is a thing?
Um, it was actually while I was getting interviewed with Anthony Chafee. So my B12 levels, they were not low, but they weren't as high as I wanted them to be, because your B12 levels actually are very critical for brain health, and when they're below a certain level, your brain actually shrinks. So my B12 was just barely, outside the range where your brain shrinks. So I was like, I wanted more B12, and Chafee was like, you might want to try eating raw liver. And I thought that was like, I thought coming from him as a doctor, endorsing it, I was like, might as well give this a try, see if I like the taste. And it actually tasted like, after a few tries, I got used to it. I was like, this is the greatest tasting thing I've ever tried. I was like addicted. I'm like still addicted.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I added like raw liver into my carnivore diet and started. It honestly did make me feel better. So like I think I was nutrient deficient, even still after like, that long on the diet. It might have been
Mm,
because I was eating a 100%, cooked carnivore diet as well. Maybe there's some, nutrients in there that I needed.
okay, nice.
And then yeah, what did I do after that? Yeah, then my brother actually, he said ground beef tasted better raw. We were getting it from an extremely like high quality source, so we didn't have to worry about any kind of, food poisoning or bacterial contamination. We were getting it straight from this farmer who was, yeah, just very reliable. We knew him. So he was eating the ground beef. He said it tasted better raw. He was eating these big bowls, of raw ground beef with egg yolks, and I think you put a little bit of olive oil in it too. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it did taste really good. So I was like, wow, okay. Yeah.
So do you usually just eat beef liver?
Like, but what do you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, like
when
not
it,
as other livers. Yeah, yeah, just beef liver.
oh, it's beef liver. Okay, great.
And I found beef liver tastes bad unless it's from an extremely high quality source. So I think there is something to the organ meats being affected by the diet of the animal, more than other areas of the animal, and other cuts.
That's a good
So like
point.
I'll
Yeah,
eat like grain finished
I
meat. Sorry. So like I'll eat grain finished meat, but I would not eat a grain finished liver. It just would taste bad.
great, great. I like the fact that you like to rely on your personal experience.
Yeah, I don't believe like any of these influencers. I'm gonna verify it for myself.
Nice. Let's see. Have you tried other organs? Let me see. Yeah, have you tried other raw organs?
Um, no, I don't. I haven't tried anything other than liver. Oh, other than raw bone marrow, which actually tasted bad. Like raw bone marrow, like cold bone marrow, not good. Does not taste good. What I found was good is when you melt it. So I don't know if that counts as cooking it because you're only heating it to like 38°C or something. I think technically it's still raw, but it's melted. That's what tastes good. So I see these people eating raw bone marrow. I'm like, why are you guys doing that? That tastes horrible compared to it melted. Just melt it. And we actually have ancient remains, of bone marrow bones, from ancient human settlements, where they actually heated these bones over the fire so they could pour out the marrow, you know. So when people talk about the primal diet, that's what's primal, is melting bone marrow out of bones.
Hmm, 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 hmm.
Yeah, but I haven't eaten brain. I want to eat brain. Um, I haven't drank blood, you know. I haven't been able to find a source for that.
Hmm.
And yeah, I haven't eaten heart, kidney. No.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, great. What do you think is the healthiest diet? Do you think it's going to be like raw blood and organs, just all raw animal foods?
No, I don't think organ meats are really the natural diet. I think it's just the same, as like the proportions that it is in the animal. So it's like, mostly muscle meat, and then a little bit of organs, if you want. I don't think organs are essential at all, to be healthy on the carnivore diet. I think they're kind of optional for some people. Some people may benefit from them.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I feel like when I see some, let's say primals, they're like grocery haul. It's like a bunch of just raw animal foods. It just feels very healthy to me. Just like from
Yeah,
the outside, if I look at those foods.
yeah, yeah. No, I think like if you're coming from like a very nutrient deficient background, like you were vegan or something, I would probably eat like a diet that's like low in muscle meat and just much higher in organ meats, so that you can get more nutrients. Because that was why Anthony Chafee told me to eat raw liver because like my B12 was still really not where it should be.
Hmm. Nice. Yeah. So for me personally, if I want to become the healthiest possible, I'll probably like just according to my, let's say, bias, I'll probably eat like some of the primals, just like maybe drink blood, raw milk, blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think dairy is really ideal. Like if you want it to be absolutely optimal, But like, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it'd probably be like steak tartare with like egg yolks and like melted bone marrow. That would probably be your daily meal.
Yeah, I
That'd be
guess.
like what I would do if I was gonna be 100% optimal.
Yeah, I guess you are right about raw milk because like lower carb animal foods are probably more nutritious.
Yeah, and also like name another animal in nature, that milks another animal, and then drinks it as an adult.
Hmm.
But it's still like very nutrient dense. Like criticizing raw milk is like
Okay.
it's already such a good food. It doesn't really make sense to really criticize that, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Let me see. How did you feel about raw meat in the past? Like prior
Um,
to like all the carnivore stuff.
Prior to the carnivore stuff, yeah, yeah, I just had like the same opinion as everybody, the same sort of like, oh yes, sashimi's fine, but like any other raw meat, that's probably you might get sick. I always liked it though, because like I would eat sushi, and I wasn't. I thought it was all just came down to preparation. I didn't think raw meat itself was dangerous. I just thought it was the potential bacterial contamination. That was the problem.
Oh, dang it. My phone died. So let me charge it.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
So it would probably take like 10 minutes.
Is there no way to plug it in while you work?
Uh, if you mean like if I can like plug it into my computer, basically that's what I was doing, but it's charging too slow.
Oh, wait, it literally charges, like it uses up power
Yeah,
faster
yeah,
than
yeah.
you can charge?
But anyways, right now I'll like use like a cable to charge, and it will be fast. Okay, let me see. Well, looking nice from this angle, my friend.
Wait, do you have your what's it called? Is it charged?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Nice.
This should be able to last me.
Shoot, now my hair looks freaking insane again. Oh my gosh. I gotta close the door. I don't want
I gotta close the
I don't
door.
want noise pollution.
Okay, let me adjust myself real quick. Okay, I'll use this angle. Let me see. Yeah, let me talk about your past relationship with raw meat a little more. So basically, Dr. Trevi suggested you to eat raw liver. When you were about to eat your first piece of raw liver, did you feel scared at all?
Um, Not really, because it was from a really good source, and it was actually frozen at -25 for a week, just naturally because of how cold my freezer is. So I knew it had no parasites in it. I'm kind of more afraid of parasites than I am bacteria, because bacteria sort of, it's one and done, whereas a parasite can theoretically just sort of live in your body for years.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, this topic is
I'm
pretty
not
like
as afraid of
complicated.
parasites as I was. Like I think your body can deal with them, as long as it's not like a really dangerous one.
Okay. Interesting.
Still though, I'd rather not consume one.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. All right. All right. Let's see. Do you have anything to say to people who believe raw meat is dangerous?
Um yeah, like, you know, steak tartare, sashimi. Uh, these are served in restaurants, across the world. People are not getting sick, for the most part. So yeah, no, like there's nothing wrong with it, inherently. I would just say that, yeah, you should look into it more.
Yeah, that's definitely a good suggestion. Just try to investigate deeper because I guess a lot of people just hear people say, "Oh, this is dangerous," and they just buy into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually got food poisoning a couple times while on the carnivore diet, but it was always from like what I thought was cooked meat. I've never experienced any sort of food poisoning symptoms, from any of these raw dishes. So like I think it can be more complicated, than people want to make it out to be.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, but I want to comment on some interesting stuff around this topic because in the let's say raw meat space, people will say that you should eat higher quality raw food if you don't want to get sick. You want to eat animal foods that come from healthy animals that live a good lifestyle. But I think when it comes to the raw dishes people usually eat, let's say like sashimi or steak tartare or like raw eggs, because in some
Yeah.
culture people do consume that raw as a normal thing. But I think those animal foods are not high quality, but people just eat that and they're fine. So I guess
Yeah.
the quality of raw animal foods might not matter as much as what a lot of people in the raw meat community believe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, like I'm not someone to, claim that, the meat being super high quality is just like a game changer. Like you don't need you can eat a blue rare steak, from a grain fed animal, and that's like perfectly safe. Um yeah, just like in my experience, like if you get like some very cheap ground beef, from like the grocery store, it tends to have a smell. It's just not appetizing, Like I can't necessarily prove that like I would get sick from consuming it, but it just doesn't seem very appetizing. I have eaten ground beef from the grocery store, but it's like grass fed and very fresh. Never had a problem with that. Tasted great. Not necessarily recommending other people do that, but I do think quality matters. Like, but it's more about how fresh it is. That's the number one factor, rather than sort of it being 100% grass fed, grass finished. Like I would rather I'd rather eat, some very fresh grain fed beef, that's, yeah, that's it. That's been kept, in good conditions. Whereas like, you know, a grass fed, piece of meat that sat out, for weeks in the fridge.
Nice. That's an interesting angle. Yeah, overall, I
There's
think this
also
topic
another
is
thing too,
just.
though. The bacteria that feeding grains actually breeds much more dangerous bacteria in the gut of that cow. So much more aggressive forms of E. coli that can actually make you sick, because not all forms of E. coli can make you sick. It's only certain forms. And when you feed grains to a cow, it actually acidifies the stomach so that it makes E. coli that are much more able to resist the acidic stomach of that cow and actually resist the human stomach's acidity as well and get into, our body, and infect us. Um, so that's why grass-fed beef, tends to just have a much lower bacterial load, just like be better in terms of like eating it raw.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to think if you can even actually get sick from eating these raw animal foods, because it seems like no one has really had an issue, like major issue.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit like interested in that idea. I think it really comes down to being healthy. So like if you're healthy, I think you can eat like rotten chicken, you can eat some, you know, you can eat some rotten beef from the grocery store, like once your body's acclimatized and you're truly healthy, I think a lot of it has to do with having an extremely acidic stomach that can sort
mm.
of kill off, a lot of these, dangerous, pathogens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some
What's
people claim, bacteria, there's no such thing as dangerous bacteria. But if that were the case, you know, we wouldn't have an immune system, that kills off bacteria.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess what we can say for now is that it's definitely not very black and white, because mainstream just think that, oh, you are simply going to get sick if you eat these foods, but it's not that
Yeah, no.
uh, straightforward.
Like bacteria alone do
Okay.
not cause disease, like in everybody. That's like a fact.
Okay. This is like a question for people who have been eating a meat-based diet for longer. So do you think you have some good tips in terms of eating this kind of diet that you think even people who have been eating this diet for a long time will not know?
Um, do I have any tips?
For example, like in terms of buying meat, storing meat, stuff like that. Just to
Yeah, I was
give you
thinking
some
about that.
ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, some people say freezing is bad for me. I don't believe that. Um, so yeah, getting a really good freezer is very good. Um, yeah, like like also yeah, buying in bulk from farmers, you can get massive deals by doing that. You can get stuff that's much better quality because you don't really have to worry. you know, about the whole food poisoning debate, if you're just eating higher quality food, you know, um, yeah, I would just say, yeah, I would just say stay consistent too. The longer you stick to it, the better, things get.
Nice. Okay. Let me move on to the next topic. So, Pascal, do you still have all your teeth?
Yeah.
Nice. Have you worn braces?
I actually had a little bit of like spacing. It's kind of like the problem most people don't have. So I had like a few trays, Invisalign trays covered by insurance to like close it, make it look a little bit better. So yeah,
When you say spacing, do you mean like there's like bigger gaps?
yeah, they were like there. I had like a tooth gap.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, like there's a gap here.
Okay, they look pretty
I
straight now.
also had no gaps along here.
So what are your thoughts on wearing braces?
Um, Yeah, so I think the main problem with braces is often it's not addressing the structural issue with the jaw. So like the jaw is recessed, so they'll often recede one jaw to match the other, recessed jaw. So if their mandible, lower jaw is recessed, they'll often recess the upper jaw, to match. You know, when that person really needs, is for the most part jaw surgery, you know, if they're quite late, and hopefully nutrition, if they're young, but I'm not sure exactly how viable it is, to grow someone's lower jaw, once that problem's already manifested. But a lot of people are not aware of actually how safe and effective jaw surgery is these days. And also palate expanders as well. Yeah, those are all like much better options, except if you have spacing. That's like the one case where braces or um, Invisalign makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
You're not really,
you think it
you're
was
not
a
really.
yeah, you think it was a good decision for you to have worn like Invisalign?
Well, yeah, because it was just like a quick sort of cosmetic improvement. It didn't really structurally change anything about my face. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't have any teeth extracted. There was never like any super heavy movement.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Nice. Do you think you would have that issue if you like grew up living a optimal lifestyle?
Um, yeah. See, I have like a weird kind of like it's like kind of like a deformity where my adult teeth for my premolars just never existed. So I retained the baby teeth, and that slight lack of sort of mass, the teeth were smaller. That is sort of what created the gap. So I'm not sure if that's just genetic or if that's like diet. I have seen pictures of
Mm-hmm.
like Samburu tribesmen, and some of them do have spacing. Like I think it might be something that just happens like in a few unlucky individuals. Maybe naturally be like 5% of people. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
It's not like we're all gonna look like Sean O'Pry or whatever, if we were brought up on raw meat. Like a lot of people say, like genetics matter. A lot of people like kind of want to cope, and pretend like raw meat can like turn any genetic base, into perfection.
That's a good point. Some people can just develop a will, no matter what kind of diet they eat, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like all these supermodels, they always pretend like a lot of them did eat like an animal based diet, growing up. A ton of them did. Like that pattern is, very clear. But, not all of them did. Yeah. Not like if your genetics are, good enough, you might not need it.
Mm-hmm. So we kind of covered this topic previously, but I want to know more about what are your thoughts on the fact that nowadays people need to get their teeth removed or wear braces.
Yeah, I just think it's like reflective of how our jaws are shrinking. Like a lot of dentists have documented over the years, and how we get our teeth removed, because our jaws are too small to fit them, and when they grow out, they cause problems. So if your jaw is too small, a lot of it has to do with the angle of the jaw too. So like a more squared up jaw will create like a longer, like what do you call it, like the longer lower jaw line, which creates more room for teeth. Whereas if the angle is steeper, there's a lot less room.
Yeah, I guess you kind of feel sad about this. I mean, the fact that people need to wear braces or get their teeth
Yeah,
removed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, um, yeah, it's a big pity because it's not really necessarily about the teeth. It's about the fact that the entire face is generally not gonna be, as well developed, as it could be. Like,
Do
sorry, what were you saying? Keep going.
Oh yeah, I just want to ask you, do you think a lot of people are aware that having these issues are not normal? It's not
Yeah,
normal.
no, most people don't know. Yeah, most people have no
Mm.
idea. They think braces are normal, even though, no other animal in the wild ever, has crooked teeth.
Yeah, well,
They just think it's like it's like human. Like I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, proof that God didn't make humans perfect is that our teeth rot and grow in crooked." But I'm like, okay, like let's put God aside. Like that's not that's not God that did it. That's us. That's humans. We did that.
yeah, I feel like this kind of phenomenon can be present in other topics, but I can think of an example now. Yeah, wow. Yeah, let me comment on my thoughts on this topic real quick. So, my girlfriend, I think in the past, she didn't have a teeth that grew. Like maybe this tooth right here didn't really grow out. So she kind of had a gap in between her teeth. Basically, like one of her teeth is pretty small. So it looked like she had a big gap. And then I think the dentist just pulled that out and then just closed everything in to make her teeth look straight. So, but basically, right now she got 3 of her teeth removed. Yeah, I think this wouldn't have happened if she grew up optimally. Also, I'm kind of like skeptical when it comes to the fact that 2 of her wisdom teeth were removed because her jaw is actually pretty well developed. I think she has enough space in her mouth, but maybe the dentist just wants to remove her wisdom teeth, and she didn't know better, so she just agreed. I just feel like she didn't need to have get her wisdom teeth removed. She probably had enough space. Yeah,
Yeah, you got to be careful though, because some people have a big jaw, right? But it's still not as big as it should be, and often it's the entire face that has not grown to be as big as it should be. Like a small skull overall. So even though their jaw, in proportion to everything else, looks well developed, it may not be still, as big, as it really should be. But yeah, it's
yeah.
also regular that dentists will remove wisdom teeth that are not even a problem. They actually tried to remove mine, and I had to tell them, I'm not doing that.
Mm, definitely
And
need
mine are like
to.
perfectly grown. Like I have like it's not just that they grew in. Like I can chew with them perfectly fine. They line up with all the other teeth.
And they still wanted to remove them.
It was something they did. It was a mistake they made. Like I have a problem with dentists as well as doctors. Yeah, I've had problems with both. Yeah, it was their fault. It almost resulted in me having to lose one of them.
Oh, okay. Okay. But anyways, you didn't and ended up getting them removed.
Nope, nope,
Okay,
not all of
great.
them.
Do you have anything? Let me see. Do you have anything you want to say to people who believe having crooked teeth is normal.
Yeah, just, name one other animal, in the wild that has crooked teeth. Look at ancient skulls before agriculture. Every single one has perfectly straight teeth. If it is natural, that would not be the case, Like all of this began when agriculture began, and that is the only time, that crooked teeth started to occur. And it's gotten worse since the Industrial Revolution, as our fat soluble vitamin intake has gone down, as our overall just nutrition has gone down.
Hmm. Yeah, more people definitely need to be thinking about if this is normal and see if we can prevent this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Not
I
a,
feel like there can be a lot of downstream issues. So, for example, your jaws don't develop properly, so you are going to look less attractive, and then your life will be worse off. And all of these things could have been prevented if you just develop properly.
yeah, I feel like being unattractive might be like one of the worst side effects, of a lot of this. Like, sure, maybe your teeth, are not as perfect, but that might be one of the biggest problems. And also breathing as well. My friend is getting jaw surgery for his breathing, because when your face is sort of sunk in, it actually hurts your ability to breathe through your nose.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's a good point. I have heard people say that when you have a bigger jaw, because you can breathe in more air or something, so you are naturally more resilient. So basically, if you have a bigger jaw, you can handle a worse lifestyle while still being like pretty great, pretty healthy.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's pretty
breathing is
interesting.
underrated, because it's like we burn food, so it's like half of the reaction is food and then the other half is oxygen, and your literal ability to breathe is affected by, how well developed your face is.
So I know you became more attractive after you went on a carnivore diet. Do you feel like girls started to become more into you?
Yeah, like at the beginning I was kind of just like a loner. It was kind of like post COVID, so didn't really affect much. I also don't like give off like necessarily the most friendly vibe like in public often, but like I have noticed that like if I do like a girl, it does tend to be pretty simple. It's like easy in terms of like the process, much easier, you know. Like I don't have to really deal with getting rejected, for the most part.
Nice.
People often focus entirely on being attractive, but not in terms of like whether or not they actually want, what they actually want, So people need to like be around groups where they're actually going to find people they actually like, you know. Because like I see people doing these walking videos where it's like, oh, look at how attractive I am, People are looking at them, but it's like, would you ever actually date any of those people? No. So it's like it's just like about narcissism. It's just about like getting attention. People are like, oh, I just want to get more girls, but like if you're just trying to attract one particular person, I think like your strategy needs to change a little bit.
Mm, mm,
But yeah,
mm.
no, like being attractive is like it's like the game changer. It's like by far, like what yeah, what changes everything.
Nice.
Like you get
Do
a
you
lot, you
feel
get forgiven more. Like you get forgiven more. Like you can say crazy stuff like you eat raw meat, or like, you eat raw liver, and they'll forgive it, they'll let it slide.
nice, nice? That's a pretty good point, I guess. Like people will be more curious. They're going to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you are onto something."
Yeah.
Do you feel like you started to have more game after you went on a carnivore diet because your mental health improved?
Um Yeah, I guess like I think it's more like when you stop when you realize that like you have options or whatever, and like you're not in this desperate situation anymore, you kind of just like, you just kind of relax. You don't like you don't try so hard. You and that kind of makes you have a more pleasant personality.
Hmm. Well, awesome.
You know what I'm saying? You just don't care as much. Like you're not gonna say stupid stuff or yeah.
Well, interesting. Yeah, you are more abundant. You have reasons to feel abundant, so you
Yeah,
naturally just
exactly. Like
act more
you just
like
have a reason. You're
chill.
more confident because like you have a reason to be confident. You know what I'm saying? Like because you
Nice,
have all these positive
nice, nice, nice.
experiences in your past, that tell you you're going to be successful in the future.
Nice.
Like people say, "Oh, just be confident," but it's like, how can you be confident if your entire life experience tells you that you're gonna fail, and then all these other people they're confident because everything they've done has worked. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm, that's a good
Like a
point.
very
Yeah, I
smart
feel
person to
like
be very like a very smart person to be confident when doing a math problem, because they always get their math problems correct.
nice. Yeah, I feel like a lot of like red pill content creators will tell you to act a certain way, but they fail to take into account you need to have reasons to act in those certain ways. You know.
Yeah, and it actually kind of comes across as more confident to sort of downplay yourself and not act like there's like a stick up your ass. Like if you say something like, yeah, I'm actually like I'm like by the way, I'm actually like an actual moron. Don't ignore what I say or something. That's going to be a lot more confident than if you're like, I actually got this degree at this university, and I actually got an IQ test that says that I'm this smart. If you're like, I'm not the smartest person in this room, but I believe X, that's going to be better.
Well, what you shared was pretty interesting. Yeah, because full disclosure, I'm just a normal dude, and I don't think I have experience having like a bunch of like lots of options in my life. So you said that when you have more options, you can feel more abundant. That's pretty like interesting to me. But it
Like I
makes
haven't met
sense.
the like I haven't met the one. So like I would be like if I had a true option, like I wouldn't be like single or whatever.
Nice, nice.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. Do you think everyone will become healthier if they go on a carnivore diet?
Yes, like unless they have some extremely rare like condition that somehow makes it impossible for them to eat meat. But yeah, for like the vast majority of people, yes.
Mm, okay. Did you used to think eating a lot of meat was bad for the planet?
Yeah, I kind of used to think that, but yeah, I didn't really think about how crop agriculture erodes the soil, whereas like grazing animals on grass doesn't. That was sort of like a big shift.
Mm,
Like
nice.
it's just not sustainable to be constantly tilling up the soil and spraying it with fertilizer. That's just not going to last forever. Whereas cows pooping on grass, that actually can last forever. So that's like a huge upside. But
Mm.
I do have some ideas actually on how we could make meat more efficiently with less land. So that might be something I want to work on as like a career, but it's like extremely untested. So there's like not
Oh,
necessarily too much point in talking about it.
nice. Did you used to think a vegan diet was healthy?
No, I don't think I ever thought a vegan diet was healthy. I think I used to think like a long time ago that like maybe like you could do it in a way that was like, fine. Like, you wouldn't really be very unhealthy doing it. Like, you could be healthy on a vegan diet, but I don't really believe it's possible to be truly healthy on a vegan diet at this point,
Hmm.
especially your
Yeah,
kids. Like,
I remember I
especially
used
like
to.
being pregnant and giving birth to a baby while vegan. That's like, yeah.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, I remember I used to think vegan patties were healthy. Like actually, right now here in Taiwan, they are going to sell some options that have like vegan meat, and they will use this as a selling point. So the awareness here is still not very good, I guess. Like people just believe like these plant-based processed meat is healthy.
Well, isn't Asia like a little bit more plant based? No, they do have a lot of meat there. Yeah, no, that's weird.
I mean, at least when I was like growing up, there were some classmates that were like vegans, and it's pretty normal. Um, I would feel pretty. How do you say this? You would kind of feel like it's good to eat a vegetarian vegan diet.
Yeah,
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 and
no, that was
they will
definitely
have like meat free day or something.
yeah. I remember like when I was like 8 years old, I was trying to figure out why a burger is bad for you because I was like, well, bread's not unhealthy, tomato and lettuce is not unhealthy, I was like, maybe it's just too much meat. I remember thinking that. It was only until like a decade
Mm-hmm.
later that I figured out actually why, burgers are unhealthy. So like I did have a little bit of an idea that like yeah, meat is unhealthy in like excess or whatever, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really know. I didn't really care.
So I want you to kind of sell carnivore. So my next question is, why should someone go carnivore?
Yeah, well, it's the least amount of toxins and the most amount of nutrients, for any diet. And yeah, no other diet will you see the type of results in terms of people's skin, in terms of people's weight, in terms of all sorts of diseases. Some quite serious, like multiple sclerosis, So yeah, I would also say that it's an ancestrally appropriate diet. So this is what humans have been eating according to stable isotope analysis for the last 200,000 years, 2 million years. So what else? Yeah, like grains, vegetables, all of these things were created by the agricultural revolution, and our genes, our physiology is just not adapted because we haven't had them long enough. Some people, some tribes, some areas of the world have only had agriculture for like a couple hundred years. Your body's not going to, switch to an entirely new food source, as its optimal sort of fuel, within that short period of time.
Okay, nice. So I want to dive kind of a bit deeper into this question. So I want you to imagine a normal person. Maybe his skin is not the best. He has some excess body fat. Maybe he's not feeling his best. We don't know. But what do you think are some benefits this person can experience by eating a carnivore diet?
Like if his skin is bad and what else?
Maybe not entirely fit, and
Oh, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they are struggling with some teeth issues, digestive issues. You can just guess. I don't know, but just
Yeah,
pretend
yeah.
that there's a normal person. What do you think? They will. What benefits do you think they'll get from going carnivore?
Yeah, well they'll almost certainly almost immediately lose quite a lot of weight. Like that's something you see very consistently. Friends that have done this, my parents, yeah, you always lose weight, you always get leaner almost immediately. And then your skin conditions, depending on what they are, will either completely vanish very quickly or just slowly fade away. Yeah, until your skin's extremely clear, extremely nice looking. Um, yeah, you're just gonna probably feel better. If you're a man, your testosterone's gonna go up. If you're a female, your cycle's probably gonna normalize. You're gonna have less period pain. You're gonna have less menstrual pain. Um, you're gonna put on more muscle without working out. You may even look jacked without ever really setting foot in the gym. So that was actually the case for me. So yeah,
Nice, nice. Yeah. These I guess points sound more like um how do you say it? Attractive to people, I guess.
yeah. Well, like I literally did not. I literally worked out like a lot when I was like maybe like 17 years old, and then I started running and doing a little bit less working out until I was like 20, and then I just completely quit, and I completely maintained my physique and actually built strength
Mm.
without really working out at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like I
it's
can
definitely
still bench
important
press.
to eat well.
Yeah, I
To
can
like,
bench press like 200 pounds, and I don't work out.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I was still like working out very hard. Uh, I was just like focusing on protein and the calories. I want to like uh, look leaner, build more muscles. Yeah, but I failed to take into account I need to also prioritize my skin and my digestion, my teeth, my how do you say this? How healthy my face looks, things like these. And if I only focus on protein and calories, I'm not going to be able to also take care of these other aspects.
Yeah, because like that's like a trap a lot of men fall into. They try and make their body look better, but then they make their face look worse. But the face was always like way more important than the body. So like without their knowledge, they actually made themselves look a lot worse.
Mm,
Like a lot of people get this
yeah.
like bloated, acne, gym guy face, gym bro face, and yeah, that's not ideal.
And I want to say that I think it's totally possible you have a low body fat, but your face still don't look very defined. Like I know this calisthenic guy, he's like pretty shredded. He has pretty visible six pack, but his face looks pretty diseased and puffy. Yeah, I think if he hops on a healthier diet, that will that issue will resolve.
I actually have a pretty high fat face relative to my body. Like if you looked at my chest, you'd be like, "Wow, this guy's super lean." But if you like see my face, like just like in general, like it's not that lean.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Especially like my brother too. Like he has this issue too. It's just genetics.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this guy called Dr. Sean O'Mara, and he always talks about if
Yeah,
you like live healthily, your face will look less diseased, just like less
yeah,
puffy.
yeah, definitely.
So
I'm definitely
yeah,
less
if someone
puffy
wants
than
to
I
become more,
was.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, if someone wants to become more attractive, they definitely need to look into how they can reduce their visceral fat to like make their faces look healthier. Yeah, but maybe
Yeah.
you are just like building muscles, wearing cooler outfits, but you still have bad skin and your face still looks diseased. Then um, it's not really helpful.
A lot of it's like inflammation. It's like water retention. That's what looks really bad.
So your whole family is carnivore.
Yeah.
Were they influenced by you?
Yeah, I did it first, and then my dad did it, and then my mom did it, and then it was just easier for my brother to do it.
How old are your parents?
Um, they're like, I think they're like 58 and like 54, 55. I'm not actually sure.
Okay, nice. Yeah, but I guess because your dad was already okay with eating lots of meat, so going carnivore was like easier to for him. He didn't
Yeah,
have
that was
that
kind of his
much like
dream.
stigma.
Yeah, that was kind of his dream. like to eat a lot of meat. So like
Wow.
he kind of just like switched to eating more of what he already liked eating.
Uh-huh. Nice, nice.
Cutting out bread, and like he had like bad knee pain, you know, that was triggered by exercise especially, and it's just slowly petered out over over the year or so.
Mm-hmm. What are some improvements you have seen in your family after they went carnivore?
Yeah, yeah, so my dad, his arthritis got better, he lost weight, his skin got better, his balding stopped progressing from what I could see. Um I don't know if that would have happened naturally, but yeah, you know, I didn't regrow hair, but it appears to have halted. And then what else? Yeah, it's he seemed to like become more assertive, uh, better mood. Yeah, my
Wow.
mom also seems to have gotten in a much better mood, like more stress tolerant. Um, yeah, she lost weight as well. Neither of them were like really fat. They were just kind of like they had like yeah, they just had like a belly, I guess, like a little belly. And then
Nice.
like my brother, he's like put on like an extreme amount of muscle, and I think he's also grown taller because he's younger than me.
Mm.
And his eczema
Wow,
actually went
beautiful.
away completely as well, like when he went carnivore. Um, but then he started adding things back into the diet, and then it came back, and now he's gone back to carnivore again, and he still has it. So we'll see what happens.
Mm, mm, mm. Can you say again what problem?
Eczema.
Oh, okay, okay. Let's see. Well, do you feel like your family is overall like a happier family now?
Yeah, yeah, that's much better. We're a lot, not necessarily like it's not like we're just super happy. I think we're more like motivated. Before we were more passive. We'd spend like we'd take a lot less action. We'd spend a lot more time just kind of like doing nothing. Now it feels a little bit more like we're uh, we're getting a lot more things done.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, I can imagine if my family members they went carnivore, uh, the atmosphere overall will be much more pleasant. Like I can
Yeah,
give some examples. Like I feel like my younger brother, he's pretty grumpy. Like he can get pissed over some like little things. And yeah, I think if he go on a better diet, he'll just feel happier and he'll just be a nicer guy. And my dad, my mom is also kind of similar. She has like she can get triggered pretty easily, and I think she has an issue. This is kind of funny. I'm not trying to talk shit about my family, but um, I think she has an issue where she can't really see she has a she's at fault. I think this is kind of like a mental health issue. Like you always don't think you are wrong. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So basically, she can be like impolite to others, and then other people will maybe feel upset. And if you clarify that to her, she's not going to think she is wrong. She's just going to think it's your problem. It's your problem, like that. Yeah, but I think if my
yeah.
what just happened? Let me see.
Can you see me?
I can see you. I'm
Okay.
sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Uh,
Yeah. No, I noticed. Yeah, I noticed like my relationships like improved with like my mom especially. I think it definitely improved that. Yeah, she had some of the issues you were talking about.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, like especially just like when she's stressed out. Like I feel like she was like less patient, and now she's more patient. even when she's stressed out.
Wow. Yeah.
I think like stress, like because stress can come from your life and also like your diet. Like if you're nutrient deficient, inflamed, that's going to increase stress, chronic stress all the time, which is going to make you less effective at dealing with real life,
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle stress.
Mm-hmm. Let's go. Okay, thank God. Thank God I'm back. This didn't happen before.
And now you're on the other side.
This is fine. It's fine. I can fix that
On
post
my
production. Let's go. Well, it's good for you. I'm happy that your whole family is on carnivore. I don't
Yeah,
know
I'm
if I'll ever see that one day in my family because they are not motivated to change. They are okay with having like not fit body and health issues. They're okay with just going to the doctors constantly instead of like taking a look at their lifestyle and fix that. Yeah.
yeah, my like they're what's it called? My dad wants to like help homeschool my kids and help like potentially work on some building projects for like our houses. So like he's kind of pretty dead set on being in good health.
Oh,
My
nice.
mom too. Like they kind of just think there's more life to live, so they need to stay, functional for a
Mm-hmm.
while longer if they can.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess you really need to have a purpose.
Yeah, like you can't really afford like if you have a job to do, or it's a job you want to do, you can't afford to be unhealthy.
That's a nice message. Okay, me. So, do you have any tips for carnivores that would like their family to go carnivore?
Yeah, like I would just say cook really, really good food because like meat is inherently one of the most tasty things out there. I think they did some survey on men on what their favorite food is, and steak was the number one. So it's not that hard to compete. Just cook really, really good food and see sort of show them the benefits in yourself. Like if you're extremely healthy, and you're eating all this extremely tasty food, eating lots of fat. Most people find that extremely appealing, almost like it's too good to be true. So yeah.
That's a very nice point. Yeah, I noticed that sometimes when I cook my steak, my family members will be interested in taking a few bites because they are just naturally drawn.
Yeah, yeah, humans are carnivores. We naturally crave meat, all of us.
Wow,
Yeah.
interest. It's kind of interesting that this diet needs to be spread because it's so straightforward. It's very logical. You know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Uh yeah, I just hope we don't run out of meat, from being successful, at spreading this message.
Nice. Well, yeah, I want to be neutral, but this is actually, I think this is actually what's the case. Let's see. What are your thoughts on doctors that are against carnivore?
Yeah, just ignorant. They're they're not doing their job to research the latest methods to fix disease. Um, you know, they're they're sticking to training that is outdated and simply cannot solve the most important diseases that they treat every single day, such as like obesity, skin issues. Um, there's even some evidence that ketosis can help slow down or potentially prevent cancer from occurring. Um, that is not something that I'll necessarily claim I know for sure, but to not even bring this up in cancer treatment, I think is quite crazy.
Mm, nice. Yeah, since you mentioned cancer, I want to kind of talk about my opinions on this. Um, I feel like sometimes people probably don't. Let me give an example. I kind of feel like doctors can misdiagnose people in terms of like having cancer, but I can be totally wrong. But sometimes I just see people that look very fine and healthy, and then they are diagnosed with cancer, and then they need to like go through all the treatments, and then they actually become unhealthy looking. Like they lose all their hair, they look sick. But right now they are like fighting the cancer. They are making progress, and to me it just seems pretty strange. Like I just kind of feel like maybe they didn't even have major issues to begin with. It's just the diagnostic criteria fit says that he has problems. So the doctor declare that this guy has problem, and then uh, when this patient started to go through all the treatments and become less healthy looking, all of a sudden they are making progress. They are becoming healthier, but they literally just look unhealthy. But and then people are like cheering for him, like, "Oh, keep going." And I just think it's kind of suspicious. And obviously, throughout the whole process, they are not eating the best diet, so it's just pretty like strange to me.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I've heard of people who just said, they didn't take treatment, and yeah, they're still healthy.
Mm.
But yeah, I do think some cancers uh like can be benefited from chemo. Um, but that's only like I think a big reason for that is because we're so unhealthy in the first place. We have to resort to these methods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ideally, you probably shouldn't even have health issues to begin with.
Yeah, well, cancer is another one of these diseases that basically went from 0 to 100, over the last, couple centuries.
Mm.
So this is not something that's natural, to humans, especially with how common it is. If it did exist, it would be extremely rare. Like cancer is extremely rare in the animal kingdom. Humans, like so many other situations, we're the only one, we're the exception.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah, plus like as you know, like cancer, it's only able to oxidize glucose, in its mitochondria. You need high blood glucose levels to really really turbocharge it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there are a good amount of health professionals or like experts that are like standing out and talk about how you can improve cancer with diet. But I think the awareness is not very high. Yeah. I think if someone is already talking about this side of the information, then we need to take it more seriously. But I don't know what's going on. Yeah, a lot
I
of
was
the
just
times
gonna
people
say,
just make it seem like, oh, you are so unlucky. Keep going. It just make it seem like there's nothing they can do about this. There's no cause. Something like this. Yeah. Okay. Let me move on to the next question. So, Pascal, you used to have skin issues, worse mental health, bad digestion, things like these. What advice would you give people like your past self?
yeah, just yeah, eat real food earlier. Don't go down the drug path. It's not gonna work in the long run. It's gonna come with potential side effects. Um, yeah, yeah, just like your body does know how to heal. It does want to be able to heal. Nothing's wrong with you. You're just putting the wrong inputs into your body. You're putting it in the wrong environment. Um, and things will resolve themselves if you restore it to its natural environment, natural diet. Um, yeah.
Do you think a lot of people are unaware of the kind of information? you were talking about, or they just are not very interested. They don't really care.
I think I think most people are unaware. Some people are actually openly hostile to it because they just think it's fake and they're just like these people are creating false hope. It actually angers them. I've had a lot of haters. They're like, these people act like, it's that easy. Of course it's not that easy. Everyone would be doing it if it was that easy. Well, you know, there are other reasons why people wouldn't, be doing it than, you know, uh, yeah.
Nice.
Um, yeah, like a big reason why people don't do it is because it's just out of the ordinary. Most people don't want to do things that are out of the ordinary. Most people just want to fit in. So that's like the biggest reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you kind of covered haters. Let me ask some questions about this. Yeah, I guess. Um, do you have anything to say to people that dislike carnivores?
Do I have anything to say to them? No, not really, other than I would ask you to reconsider your position. I think often these people have never tried it. That's like the most common thing I've seen. Or they didn't try it for long, or they restricted calories while in it, which is not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're often just going off. They're often giving the classic gym bro advice. They're like, it's just a calorie deficit, artificial sweeteners, seed oils, that's all okay, in moderation, you know. Like they never ever look as healthy, as carnivores, as primals, like we're always, in much, much better health than them.
Mm. Okay, nice. Interesting. Do you mind sharing what kind of business you are running?
Yeah, I currently just run this like custom furniture business, and movie prop business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like my dream job. It's just a good way to stay unemployed, as we all want, and pay for my meat, pay for my existence, slowly make my way to getting some land.
Wow. So basically, you just like create stuff for people.
Yeah.
Nice.
I yeah, I have an employee. I have like a store. Uh, it's a pretty crappy store
Mm-hmm.
slash workshop area, but
Wow.
yeah,
Did you go to a college?
no, no, I don't like school.
Nice.
Don't let
So
don't let school get in the way of your education.
did you become more entrepreneurial after you went carnivore, or you already had this like idea?
I was already entrepreneurial. Like it's kind of just tied to like thinking outside the mainstream. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, doing what you want, instead of what everyone else is doing.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Like I started my first business when I was like 15 years old, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I started my second one after high school,
Uh,
um, because I literally could not stand like my first job. I was like, okay, anything's better than this.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Let's see. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like your life now?
Um, I would rate it like probably like a 7. Yeah,
So how
like
can
it's
we
pretty
bump that
good.
up?
I still go on. Sorry.
How can we bump that up?
Oh, yeah, like I need to get out of the city, number one. I don't like living in the city. I'd probably need like a woman too. Like I don't like being single that much. Um, yeah, I need to be like in nature, and I want like my own house. So yeah, that's like my own. Yeah, I think that would probably raise me up a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's understandable. Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of just living in the moment. I feel pretty good overall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Funny question: is there a girl who eats a meat-based diet that's a content creator? Like they put themselves out there, and you think they look good?
Yeah, of course, a bunch of them look good.
Can you name
I
one?
think that's like the trend. Like most based girls look really good. They
Mm-hmm.
look like way more attractive than the average person. That's not by chance. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah.
Do you want to name one?
I don't know about that. I feel like that would like come across as like creepy.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Yeah.
They probably know if I think they look good.
Uh huh. Yeah, I just thought this question is funny. Let's see.
Yeah,
Is it easy to?
the thing is,
Is it easy
I
for
don't
you
know
to
if I'd
come?
want to date. I was just gonna
You can
say I
go
don't know
ahead.
if I'd want to date like an influencer because like I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it would be weird, having them like putting themselves out there all the time. It seems like it could be kind of good to like find a girl and then convince them, this is the way, rather than try and find someone who's like, already found it, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it just comes down to how you feel about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely is easier if they already believe in all this stuff though. So, yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, also. Yeah, like, do you usually come across girls in your life?
No, I don't know, like especially recently I've been kind of like a hermit, like just working on renovating my house. Like I don't really talk to any girls recently. I have like female friends, I guess, that like will talk to me uh pretty often. I'll talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um a lot of them are actually carnivore. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm not talking to any girls right now. I'm in hermit mode. I'm grinding.
Great, great. I hope some girls
I
will
just
see this convo.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like the problem is I kind of want to have a little bit more of like if I had like a property, like that would be like so much better because then like I could actually marry them. Like it just feels kind of like a little bit of suffering where like I have a girlfriend, but like um I can't marry them because I've like no means to sort of like yeah, I'm not like I don't know.
You want to be more like able to provide, essentially.
Yeah, I guess like well like the problem is too because like I kind of think I might have to like find a girl who's like farther away and like sort of like it could be potentially like maybe move to them, they move to me, something like that. I'm not sure. And that kind of requires me to be more like set up than I am currently, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Okay, just one more random question. Uh, how do you go about having the urge to meet girls? Because obviously you're single and you have your like philosophy, right? You don't want to like uh, have sex before marriage. So how do you control your urge?
Um well okay, well like I've like dated a lot of girls in the past and I've had like a girlfriend in the past. Um just had like a lot of like yeah, I guess I just kind of feel like I've had enough and I'm kind of good in terms of like I don't really need any attention anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, I guess I'm just kind of like I guess I'm just kind of used to the mindset that I'm not going to have sex until I get married. So there's not a lot of temptation because it's like well the decision's already made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
Interesting.
I wouldn't, and also like I don't really like girls like at nightclubs or places like at that or bars. Like it's just like there's no way I would actually like this person's like personality or like not like it's just like, yeah, I just don't like those types of girls. Like, I don't even know where I'd go. Like, if I
Mm.
wanted to do that, I guess I could go on like some dating app or whatever. Like, I have no idea why I'd do that.
But I guess dating apps, the girls there can also be like not the ones you are looking for.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the same thing like at nightclubs, where
Yeah, yeah.
often they're of lower quality in terms of like desirability.
Okay, okay. Hmm.
Yeah, like less attractive, being with more guys. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm, hmm, hmm. So I'm just curious. Do you generally not have a strong temptation to just let's say have sex, or you just channel that kind of energy somewhere else?
Yeah. No, like I do have a very strong drive, but I've just made the decision that I'm not going to do it. So it's kind of, I guess maybe it redirects somewhere else.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Well,
I'm just a very like controlled person. That's why I'm able to, eat this diet very strictly. That's why I'm able to do, a lot of the things I do. It's not I don't really care that much about like my temptations. It's all about what is going to
mm,
bring me to my end goal. And like my end goal is like um I want like a really good wife and I want that to be like a good relationship. So I'm not about to like mess up that good thing that I'm going to get, through like some like temptation.
awesome, awesome, great, great.
But like if I found a girl right now, like I'm not opposed to like getting married young at all. So like if I
Hmm.
found a girl that I really liked, like I'd probably marry them right now, and then I guess then I would give in to my temptation.
Nice. Great, great. Hmm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of guys are a little too like creepy nowadays. Maybe they watch too much porn, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they treat women in a way that's respectful, or like they think about women in a way that's kind of like disrespectful. I guess if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like for example, maybe they see a cute girl on the street, they are going to like sexualize them. But I think that's not
Yeah.
very good.
I still feel like I kind of do a little bit of that. It's just part of being like having a high sex drive.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, but I guess some people are.
Well, like it's like you're trying to like you don't like you want to try and like avoid that though if you can, you know.
Okay, I get what you are saying. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like sometimes it's like unavoidable, but yeah, you want to minimize that. And obviously, yeah, you don't want to watch the corn that's gonna fry your brain.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is, some guys probably think they are uh, girls are just for having sex, and
Yeah,
I think that's not very healthy. Okay.
yeah. I do feel like people kind of think too much of like relationships though. They think that like their wife is gonna complete them in every way. They're gonna be their therapist. They're gonna make every day beautiful. But like that's not really true either. They're definitely gonna make it better. But I think yeah, I feel like people need to like lower their expectations on themselves and other people sometimes.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, just a couple more questions. Thank you for spending lots of your time, Pascal. So I want to ask you, what are your goals?
Yeah, like my goals are basically I want to get land. I want to build a house. I want to have animals, and I want to test some of my farming ideas, uh, so that I can make meat production more efficient in the world. Um, I also want to, uh, yeah, start more businesses maybe. Um, yeah, just help people with this diet. Like I didn't create my account, my YouTube channel or anything with the intention of making money. It's just to help people because of all the conditions I had. Um, yeah, so spread the message. Uh, yeah, yeah, just like serve God, serve Jesus, every way I can. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Nice. Is there something you wish everyone in the world could understand?
there's a lot of things people should understand. Yeah, I would probably just want them to understand that there's more to this world than you know, and that you don't know everything. You know, a lot of what you already believe, what you think you know, just ain't so.
Nice. That's a pretty valuable message. So that's it for the interview, Pascal.
Cool, man.
Let me say something to the listeners. Yeah, hope you guys found some value from what we were talking about. I try to share my personal opinions and I try to have him talk about some common confusions people will have around a carnivore diet. So I don't know if anyone that's like still kind of an outsider will be listening to this, but yeah, I definitely want more people to be more familiar with this kind of diet. Yeah, and just stay tuned to your boy. I'll keep creating interviews like this. I'm a neutral guy. I'll probably also interview some like plant-based eaters if I'm interested in them. Yeah. But yeah, thank you, Pascal, for doing this with me. Appreciate
Yeah, no
it.
problem.
I disappeared for some reason.
Wait, did you stop
Anything you want to say
recording?
to the viewers?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, just like don't stress too much. You know, uh, yeah, just eat what makes you feel good, and don't worry too much about it.
Nice, nice. Well,
Yeah, don't worry
unfortunately,
about
I
what
need
other
to.
people think. Don't worry
Mhm.
about, you know, all these reasons the world gives you to be stressed out. You know.
Nice, great message. Okay, so I'm going to end recording. Thank you guys for
Okay.
joining.